For nearly 4 decades, one man had ruled Iran with an iron grip, shaping the destiny of a nation through fear, ideology, and force. But now, the streets were no longer silent. Smoke rose over cities that once whispered obedience. Crowds gathered, not in celebration but in defiance. The regime claimed victory, declared that foreign plots had failed, and announced to the world that the flames of rebellion had been extinguished. But anyone watching closely could see the truth. The fire was still burning, and it was spreading. Jack Keane had seen moments like this before. A retired general, a strategist who had spent his life studying the rise and fall of regimes, Keane understood something most politicians preferred to ignore. When a government turns its weapons on its own people, it has already begun to lose. Reports were coming in from inside Iran. Thousands were dead, maybe more. No one knew the real number yet. The official figures kept changing, always shrinking, never growing. But history had taught Keane that such numbers only move in one direction. "This is the most brutal crackdown this country has seen in generations," he said quietly to those around him. "And it isn't over." For years, presidents had tried different approaches. Some had ignored the problem. Some had tried to negotiate with it. Some had hoped it would simply fade away. But it never did. Instead, Iran grew stronger, more aggressive, more confident. Its influence spread through proxies, militias, and shadow wars across the region. Then came a turning point. Sanctions were imposed, the harshest in history. Economic pressure began to squeeze the system from the inside. The money dried up. The cracks widened. And then came the strike that changed everything. The elimination of the man who had built the entire regional network of terror and militias. The architect of chaos was gone. According to Keane, that moment shifted the balance. That man had American blood on his hands, he said, and he was preparing to spill more. At the same time, Israel moved decisively, dismantling enemy networks piece by piece. Leadership structures collapsed. Stockpiles were destroyed. Long-protected facilities were exposed. For the first time in years, the myth of invincibility surrounding the region's most dangerous groups began to crumble. And inside Iran, the people watched. They watched their economy collapse. They watched their rulers hide. They watched the world change. Then they walked into the streets. They knew the price. They paid it anyway. Jack Keane believed this was no coincidence. "Pressure works," he said. "It always has. When a regime can no longer buy loyalty, fear is all it has left, and fear eventually fails." But the crisis did not stop there. Far to the north, another quiet battlefield was emerging, one covered not in sand, but in ice. Greenland. For generations, it had been seen as distant, frozen, untouchable. But now the ice was melting, and with it came new sea routes, new military pathways, and new dangers. Russia and China were watching. Their ships could now pass through waters once blocked by nature itself. The United States already had early warning systems there. For decades, it had known Greenland's strategic value. But now, that value had multiplied. Keane explained it simply. Missiles don't care about borders. Bombers don't care about politics. Geography always wins. The past weighed heavily here too. Greenland's people had suffered under decades of mistreatment, forced programs, and cultural erasure. The scars were still there. Trust was fragile. But Keane believed a new future was possible, one built on security, investment, and partnership instead of neglect. "This isn't just about power," he said. "It's about stability. It's about keeping war from reaching places it doesn't have to reach." Negotiations would come. They always did. Cooler heads would eventually sit at the table. Denmark, Greenland, the United States, NATO, each with their own interests, each with something to gain and something to lose. Meanwhile, an aircraft carrier moved quietly toward the Persian Gulf. Not as a declaration of war, but as a reminder. Jack Keane had seen enough history to know one thing: the world does not change all at once. It shifts under pressure. It cracks before it breaks. And when it finally moves, it does so faster than anyone expects. "I don't know exactly when it ends," he said, "or how. But I do know this. The old world is under strain, and something new is trying to be born.